Hey everyone, I'm Jessica, here with another solo discussion about something that I just went out to the store and picked up the other day. I was so excited about this. Saw that my friendly local game store had it in stock, and what did I pick up? That is correct. That would be Meadow, the adventure book. So this is an expansion to Meadow. And I wasn't sure what this was. I think there was some information about it, but it wasn't very clear to me. But I was so excited to get this. Immediately unpacked it. There's a couple of boxes that you have to construct. I made those. I punched out everything, got it all ready to go, and just dove right into it. So I wanted to share some of my thoughts because I think this is a little bit of a different expansion, if you will. It's not one that's just, if you love Meadow, get this. I think there's a couple of caveats, and I think there is an audience for it. And spoiler alert, I do not think I am one of them. I didn't quite enjoy this, but I want to kind of just go through what these scenarios entail, what's included with the expansion, and kind of just talk through what it is, because I did have some fun moments with it, and there are some neat ideas, but ultimately, I'm going back to Meadow plus the downstream expansion. So let's dive into this. And what is this? So the adventure book comes with 6 scenarios, and after you kind of complete punching everything and creating it, you're going to have a box that looks like this. So each of these scenarios has its own box. We're going to go through those and kind of just, briefly show you what those are. But the main core of this is, as you would expect, the adventure book. So it's going to look like this. This is a nice spiral bound, really nice kind of, thick cardboard. And what these are is it is the replacement for each scenario. So instead of using your standard campfire board, that's just gone. And this saves some table space, so you're going to be playing through here. And just to kind of give you a quick overview of sort of what that looks like, you're going to be opening it up. It'll be a kind of a 2-page spread, if you will, and this sits on the table, again, replacing that campfire board, but it is basically the same amount of space. And so each of these is going to have something that you play through. It's very different. It has unique goals, unique rules, and each of these, again, I'm going to briefly kind of go through what these are, but just to give you an idea of how you would kind of, flip through and play through this. There are no spoilers here. This is not a campaign that you play through. There's no legacy. There's no secret envelopes. There's nothing that you unlock. It is just all here. There is sort of an idea of a campaign where you are kind of playing from the 1st through the 6th scenario, collecting stars along the way and kind of gauging your success either in the solo mode or multiplayer. But for the most part, these are not... They're not connected. They're very just different sorts of puzzles. And I wanted to say that word puzzles because that is what I feel like these are, for me at least. It's not like a new gameplay experience. It is a set of new rules for you to focus on and to sort of optimize your play style to do well within that set of rules, if you will. So there's sort of a puzzle. There's sort of a solvable solution in a way. Again, I may be totally way off, way out there. This is just how I experienced it. And just to sort of set it up, how I play Meadow is as a very kind of calm, quiet, relaxing sort of solo game. I just go out there. I like looking at the card art and just kind of thinking through, appreciating those nice, beautiful pieces of art out in nature. And they don't have to be anything amazing. Like I might see a little bird on a windowsill. I might see some beehives and some bees. And they don't have to be these spectacular, amazing things, but I like just thinking through of sort of almost having a game be a nice, refreshing breath almost. Just taking it easy and enjoying it and knowing that it is not that challenging of an experience. It's not necessarily difficult, but it is just really fun and enjoyable to go through this and see nature. So, setting the stage there for how I enjoy Meadow and what it means to me and how I get joy out of it, going over to the adventure book and what these are. So to go through them very briefly, just to give you an idea of what to expect, we'll go back to this. The first one that you'll see, this one is called Beginning, and this has to do with weather cards actually. So you're actually going to be going up these tracks as you pick up different cards in the area. There's going to be a random die roll determined at the start of the round that sort of sets the column in a row associated with either sunny or rainy weather. If you pick up those cards, you'll move up. And at the bottom, you're always going to have 2 of each card out there. Just to take a brief look at what those look like, they each will give you a different bonus, but you're going to have, rainy cards are going to be really pretty, rainy skies, but there's a lot sort of going on there that you'll see. And then flipping ahead, I'll show you a couple of these sunny cards are going to be really pretty sunny weather. And you pick these up sort of as you do with other cards. They'll go into your hand and you'll have to play them. Some of them have requirements, but they sort of get tucked behind in your surroundings area and almost sort of give like a little theme to how that part of your hike went. It was really nice. And as I played through this one, I said, that was all right. I don't know if I'm really gonna like this, but it was great. This was actually my favorite scenario. There was not too much extra to track. It actually added to the experience and sort of gave me sort of that feeling of what was it like on this walk? Was it a nice sunny day or was there a lot of rain? And I saw like a lightning storm when I was walking over this bridge. So it really added to it. The unfortunate thing that I'll say about these scenarios is that they are not modular. So I have, there's a lot more cards in this. This is just for some of them, but these are not actually things that I can just put into the base game. I can't just say, oh, I want to use weather as a module. I actually have to play it in here with that track. There might be a way to incorporate weather at least. I think that might have some opportunity, but for the most part, you're playing through specific scenarios and you'll only see these components when you play that scenario, just as a heads up. So that's really the first one. And I don't think I didn't grab the box, but you would have a box like this. You can hear everything inside. I don't remember what's in here. But you'll have, there's a die in there. There are trackers on different, the sunny and the rainy side. And then there's a couple of bonus tokens that you might earn to be able to sort of affect some of your cards out there. So that one actually turned out to be my favorite, and I think that is the least complex of the ones in here. I think that's a great introduction. If you play that one, you're going to enjoy it if you're going to enjoy these scenarios. Unfortunately, it went downhill for me from there, but we will get into that and why in a second here. That one I loved, though. So moving on, the next one, let's flip ahead, find the right page, what that looks like. This is called Bridges. And what this one does is you're going to have this area here. You're going to have different pairings. And you'll notice that, you'll fill this in with, what did I do with them? They're somewhere around here. Here we go. If I had this over here, you fill in the different icons and place them out there to create those pairs that you earn points for. And you'll see that there's a bridge right here. And this has to do with left and right. If I can point and without looking at myself. But what that does is, let me grab the box for that. This one, you're actually going to split your play area into a sort of a left and a right side and build both of those out. And you're going to have, let's grab one of these. You're going to have a board like this in the middle that kind of, again, splits it to the left and the right. And you're going to have different little ones of these tiles that sort of, stack on here. You'll have one for each of those sections, and it gives you sort of goals to complete on either side. So again, you're looking at left and right. Once you complete one of these, you'll flip it over and you'll get points for game end for completing some of those. There's a couple other things going on here, but then the scoring piece of this is that at game end, you are actually going to score separately. So you'll count your points on your left side, count your points on the right side, and you're only going to score the lower of those two amounts. So there's an incentive to make sure that you are building up at about the same rate, which does require you to sort of think about where you're placing cards, how you're building it up. There's a lot more to think about, I think. And that's what a lot of these scenarios introduce, is that idea of, I need to plan ahead some more, I need to think in a different way, which may work for you. It may not, depending on, again, what you are playing Meadow for. If you feel like you are kind of, you've seen everything in it, you are, I really want a challenge, I really want to try to, work on something different, these scenarios would be excellent, I think. But for me, I was not looking for something that was going to add a lot of stuff to track. That's just me. And that's mostly what you're going to see again in the bridges scenario. There's a couple other cards that you'll see in there that you can gain as bonuses. But that is the big part there, is really splitting your play area. After bridges, what do we get? Oh, all right. So this is cool in some ways, and in some ways I was like, oh no. This one is called Windmills, and it kind of is getting into that whole, seeing tulips out there and seeing these windmill areas. There's a couple of cards that you can gain. Let me grab the box that has the components in here to sort of show you how this works. So in this one, let's grab one of these. There's one of these for each player color. And what it is, surprise, here we go. Let's see if we can do this and show off a cool thing. It's magnetic. So these will actually sort of lock in place because there's a magnet, so I could put it on any of these and it sort of locks in place. It might be a little hard to see, but what you're tracking is that inner circle. Where is it? Over here, that number in there is going to be tracking how often you do something. And you'll say, okay, great, that doesn't look like a windmill right now. And it doesn't. The magnetic part, excellent, really implemented well. I'm not sure if I like magnetic components at this time. I feel like they're starting to show up in more board games. I'm still undecided about this because sometimes they get like a jumbled mess of stuff just stuck together. We will see. But my issue with this one really is, so there are four, if I don't drop it, these are not magnetic. There are 4 fins that are supposed to kind of slot in here. If I don't want to put it in because my copy is so tight. I put these in, and the idea is that you'll see these have kind of these, bonuses on there. You'll get to trigger one of these once per game as you do some things, and the idea is you would then take it out, flip it over, and put it back in. But the fit is so tight that the cardboard actually started to separate in mine. So I was like, I'm going to miss out on having actual windmills, but I just kind of moved it like this just so I didn't damage it. Just be careful if you have yours that yours is not as tight. Production can sometimes differ, so this might be fine in most copies. Mine, a little too tight, so I just kind of keep them off to the side, and then once I use it, just flip it over. It functions the same, it just doesn't look as cool. But the other piece of this one that you are going to have in front of you, you are going to have a set of these tiles. You'll have a start one, an end one, and then 3 in the middle. The middle ones, you simply just go up in numerical order, and you'll have sort of this long line of tiles and icons that you're trying to see. And as you build out, you will see that you kind of have these icons that you want to see along the way. And each time that you add one above this that matches, you will move your little person forward. There are new little ones included like these, and they would just sort of like move forward one, and that's where you track it on that windmill track. The more times that you go up, the more points you'll get at game end, but you can never go back. So if I have, let's see, so if there was a bird, if I placed a bird, I could move there, and then if I placed a house above it, I would move here, but I could never go back to this space. So you kind of have to think about the order of this a lot. And for me, it was a lot to think about. Planning out those orders, and then also you can only fit 2 cards above each of these tiles. You'll see the size of that. Do I have one? I do. So like, you're going to fit 2. You'll fit 1 above here and then 1 on this side. And you're very, I don't know, I felt very focused on like how I had to build this out and how I had to plan it, because these have to be placed in order as well from left to right. So it's not like I can put a card in here, then later on I have to go, I can go back. Nope. Got to go in order. So there was a lot more to think about here. I think more so than I wanted. I didn't feel like I was really going on a hike. It was more like, I need to get this icon. I need to spin my windmill. I want to get this, and this bonus needs to trigger, and I need that icon, and I have to do this in this order. It was a lot. It was more than I expected. Definitely a neat concept. A lot of these have awesome ideas, just not quite for me. That was the windmills. Then the next one was one that I was super excited about. It looks like this. And there's an important piece that I'm missing. I'll show you in a second. This one is for balloons. More specifically, hot air balloons, which sounds awesome, and the components are cool. You have this giant thing, which the other side is magnetic. Is this? Yes, there we go. It just needs to line up. This is another magnetic component, and it's going to be rotating around. So you'll start with, there's sort of this indicator on this compass space, direction, whatever, it goes north to start with. And you'll fill these spaces up. I mean, I'm going to drop them, but basically you're going to fill them up with these. So you'll create three up there. And it actually creates, that's right, there's 6 pairs, and it's very hard to see from there, but you can kind of see where it says A, B, C, D, E, F. Those are going to correspond with hot air balloons, and you're creating pairs then. So to go on a slight tangent here, with the original campfire board for solo, you have 3 pairs, and they're interconnected because they are all, if you have one, you just have to connect it to 2 others. There's not a lot to think about there. You want to do it at some point, but you're not limited, and that it might go away. Here, the pairs are all, it's going to rotate and it's going to change. There's a little guide up at the top here that's supposed to tell you kind of, what to expect, what you might see. It's a little hard to see from far away, but it's there. And the other piece of this that you are doing is you'll see that there's this opening down here. When you place your tile over here, kind of like going to a campfire space as you do to use the special ability to get a goal. If it matches the big number, you're going to move up this track 2 spaces. If it matches the small number, you move up 1 space. And this is where it gets to be. So you're going to start on the left side. You can kind of see that there are bonuses depicted over here. At a certain point, you're going to decide to do a stopover, which means at the start of your movement, at the end of it, sometime during the movement when you're moving over here, you're going to decide, I'm going to trigger all those bonuses underneath there that I've gotten to. So if if I'm at this point, it would be everything below there. If I get all the way to the top, it's everything. And then I move to the bottom of the right track. And on the right track, where are we? That is where you're actually going to put your scoring tokens. That's where those would go. So you make that decision of when you want to stop over and switch over, but there's a lot going on up here as well because this is going to rotate in different directions depending on how high the highest person's token is on here. You can see there's different directions. So at the end of the round, this will move. And thereby you'll see that it gives you different pairings, and then it also will change the value of those of your pieces that will let you move up the tracks. Did I explain that well? I'm not sure. But there is a lot going on here, and it was a lot. And I really wanted to love this one because the hot air balloons and the artwork throughout this is spectacular. It's beautiful. It fits right in with that meadow aesthetic. And I mean, you get these beautiful little hot air balloons that you're going to collect. Everybody has a set of them. And once you complete that matching pair, so this would be pair F, you'd flip it over and you'd then have 4 points for game end. So there's more ways to get points. Once again though, it was a lot to think about, and I didn't really think of it as a hike so much as I need to move up this track, or hey, if I'm gonna get this pear, I haven't gotten the B pear yet. I need to make sure that I have that now, or I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it the next turn because this icon might not show up. By the way, the big encounters icons just hate me. They never show up. I don't know why. I either get the moose every time or they just never show up for me. That's fine. I have fun with that. That's fun. But it was a lot of just planning for those icons and moving up and down this track. It's cool. It looks awesome. It was just a lot again. So that was the balloon scenario. After that one comes the observation tower. Now I flipped to this and I was like, I need a moment. Hold on a second. There's a lot going on here. You are going to be using, there's different bonus tiles that you can pick up, which instead of having those shared goals, really, these are going to be more like things that you can pick up. And if you get this during the game, then you get extra points at game end. So just for an example of what one of those looks like, here's one of the top ones. So if you got both of those icons, you get 5 points at game end. If you do not, though, it's only worth 2 points. So more scoring opportunities, awesome, but also so many choices. And this one has to do with actually stacking up your cards. So as you know, if you've played Meadow, you are stacking on top of each other. Do I have a good example? Probably not, because I knocked everything all over the place. But just as an example of what that would look like, you know, you're stacking up the cards and you cover them up as you meet those requirements and kind of go up and up and up. And this one leans into that in a way that did not feel thematic to me. At the start of your turn, you are, except for the first round, you are going to place a watchtower or a tower token underneath one of your columns, and that determines how high up your person goes on the track here. You'll see the different levels, 1 through 6. Getting 7 or more cards in a column is worth extra points. It's great. But you can only do this once. So if I put one of these tokens under a stack of 4 cards, if I add to it, I can't actually go up to that level. I need to build out a different one. And the level that you're at determines the different bonuses that are available to you when you put your, where is it? I'll find it eventually. There's a piece that slots into the bottom to kind of give you those campfire spaces, depending on player count. So there's a lot of things that you're thinking about here. There's a bonus down here where you choose one of these. These are standard actions. There's special cards that you can pick up, so there's going to be a row of those. There's these middle tier individual tokens. There are getting your pairs over here. There's a low tier one here. There is picking up 2 cards and then getting a top tier one. And I'm not done yet. At the start of every round, there's going to be a couple of new tiles available that you will actually replace your existing one with. So you'll choose, maybe I don't want this one, and I'm going to replace it with whatever's, you're going to choose one that's available. So I might have this one instead, and I would then get to use this as a standard tile, but now it has those binocular actions, and it kind of has also a better action at the top. So there's some cool ways to sort of use that. It's a lot to think about. I had a lot. And also, as I said, like a lot of these will you store everything kind of loose in these boxes, which works, not a complaint, but at least on my copy, and I'm hoping it's just mine, but I don't know, the tower tokens, each player is supposed to have 5, but unfortunately they are misprinted so that they actually have different colors in the fronts and backs. For gameplay purposes, you're just going to have yours in front of you, so this isn't going to make a big difference. It's just during setup that separating those out will take a moment more than intended, probably. And yeah, this one, I get it. Again, I get where these scenarios are going from. They absolutely lean into different elements of the game and challenging you to sort of solve this puzzle and work at it, but this one in particular, the observation tower, anything in your surroundings area is you're basically not going to do anything with those. You're really focusing on just adding stacks of cards and creating these. So it's sort of, I don't want to say, I say on the rails a little bit, but it's sort of not forces, but definitely leans you in a very particular play style or a direction of gameplay that, again, you might like that. You might like being like, yeah, I got to focus on this for this scenario. This is great. I'm going to make the most of it. For me, though, it really sort of narrowed that decision space and had me playing in ways that just didn't thematically feel tied to that just nice, calm, peaceful nature walk that I'm used to. And then finally, we have the cave scenario. The cave or the caves? I think it's just a cave. You go in one cave. With this one, you're going to have a bunch of cave paintings, I think, that are going to go into these different slots. There are 5 different ones. My favorite, because stealthy elephants and elephants in general. I hide elephants in some of my photography and stuff just for fun. It's always enjoyable. So I loved seeing that there. And they're going to be up here. And again, if you see what these are, you're going to have pairings of different icons. So it's a lot. There's a lot of different pairs. This is filled in differently depending on player count. So there's not going to be a ton of these different ones. You're trying to collect those throughout the game, and you can only collect one of each type, which will help you move ahead in the caves here. Again, where's my little person? You're going to have a person that's going to start way over here and then start moving through. As you collect those, you'll get to move through. You'll pick up different bonuses, and it's pretty cool, but it is a cave. And I want to stress that because this is the cave module scenario. Not a module, sorry, scenario, comes with the most number of cards that can be added to the decks, and that will be shuffled into the top half of each deck every play. This is to kind of bring in those new cave cards. They are cave cards, so there are really, again, really cool, nice pieces of artwork here. But then you're in a cave, so I just want to make it clear, you're going to see a lot more insects. They're cool, and I like them in the base game. I like seeing there's like a bright yellow neon spider, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And you'll in the caves you'll spot these cool places and little, there are neat places, absolutely, but it is a cave. And just to be clear, a lot of the ground cards are going to feature spiders. I don't necessarily dislike spiders, but there are a fair amount of them in this one that get added in. And it also is, you'll get some of the cards that look like they are, oh, I found this, on my walk. They all have the bat symbol in the bottom to kind of indicate caves. You will also see some adorable ones. I mean, there's a good mix here, but again, just going off of there, you went into a cave. There's a lot of cave stuff. It's not a meadow, it's a cave. And I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but except to the fact that it doesn't feel like I'm going, I don't know. It didn't quite resonate with me that I'm going into a cave, and yes, I'm seeing these new cards and, spiders and insects. It's fine. It's not the end of the world, but cave paintings, why am I seeing cave paintings? What is happening on my hike? And, what is the significance of that? I don't know. And I think that, to back up a minute, I think that is one of the other things that I found with these scenarios is that they are interesting puzzles. Absolutely. They add new rules, they change up the mechanics, they focus in on these elements of play. But for me, it felt very mechanical, to say that. It didn't really tie into the theme of the original Meadow game. I didn't feel like I was going on these hikes. Aside from the weather cards, I will say that weather scenario at the start, absolutely loved it. I loved having that little bit of extra, hey, it was sunny when I went over here, or it was stormy. That was great. But everything else felt like I was chasing after icons, or I was trying to time it when I did this one thing. And it wasn't like, it wasn't enjoyable to see. I didn't see this tree. It was more like, great, I got points. It wasn't, it just didn't, it did not resonate with me. And I will say, I suppose I'm just not in the target audience, because I do see how this could be very fun. But I would be concerned about how this plays, because another thing that I didn't mention, and I should, it's clearly stated in the rulebook, this is not compatible with downstream. You can't use downstream with this. So if you enjoy that river element and those decisions, you can't use it with the adventure book. I don't know if there's going to be a way to use it in the future, maybe not. But as it is right now, the adventure book, this one, is only compatible with the base game. So who is this for, and who would look at this, and who would enjoy this? Because again, just because I didn't does not mean that it is not a great choice for you. If you have just the Meadow base game and are looking for a way to challenge yourself, to make it a little more difficult, to focus in on different kind of rules and really changing it up and really trying to solve these unique sorts of puzzles, I think the adventure book would be excellent. The alternative, though, is downstream. And I think that's where I think it might be a little trickier to recommend. If you have Meadow plus downstream already, getting the adventure book, I don't know. I was able to fit downstream in the base game box, so I just have, this is it. This is on my shelf like this. Everything fits in there. It's great. If you get the adventure book, possibly if you cut down the insert, took it out completely in the base game box, you might be able to fit everything in there. Doubtful though. So you're going to have another box. And it really is, are you going to play Meadow, or are you going to play the adventure book, one of these scenarios? Another concern that I have is how often you would want to keep playing through these. They change the rules up, yes, but you play through maybe 1 through 6. You might find your favorites, and then maybe you're like, I like this one, or I like that one, but I don't know if I enjoyed these this much. Would I keep playing it? Like, would I keep playing that weather scenario to keep getting the weather cards every time? Maybe. But there is that additional level of, I need to track this, there's extra setup. Who knows? I think this could definitely work for the right type of player. If you want to solve puzzles, if these scenarios sounded cool, if you were like, no, what are you talking about, Jessica? This is amazing. And if you see some of these things and you're like, that is exactly what I want to do with Meadow, then get it. Absolutely. That sounds like it would be a good choice. I will just say I am looking forward to returning to playing Meadow plus downstream together. I thought that was a little complex, adding on that river and that huge board, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. But now that I've played the adventure book, I'm actually looking forward to getting back to that and just enjoying the core elements of the game that kind of delighted me from the start and that I don't want to get away from. So in a way, this was definitely very helpful for me to experience this, to try it out. I think solo games and board games as a hobby in general, we're always learning about our preferences and what we like, what we don't like, and kind of learning from that. I still am excited that I went to my game store and was like, here's a new game, or it's an expansion, but here's a new thing, and I'm so excited, let me get it to the table, and I did. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy that I got to at least try it out, and I had fun. There were moments of fun, absolutely. I just did not click for me, and that is fine. It may very well work for you. So that again is Meadow, the adventure book. As always, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you get some fun solo games to your table soon. Thanks so much for watching, and take care. Bye!